Hey, shalom, everybody. I hope everybody's having a good day. Well, this message that I'm going to be putting out, it's going to be a punch to the gut for a lot of people. But with our society the way it is, people find it too convenient to avoid the hard, painful stuff and go and just ignore it. They want to bury their heads in the sand, and I'm not going to be one of those people to do that. I think one of the biggest treasure that any of us have in our lives is our children. And children are part of the two biggest businesses, well, in the United States at least, I can't speak for other countries in the world, for sex trafficking and the abortion industry. Firstly, child sex trafficking is a bigger business than running guns or selling drugs. See, the difference between the two is the guns and the drugs, you can only sell those and they can only be bought one time. That you have one child. That child can be sold and bought as much as 10 times in a day. Now, usually in the child sex trafficking rings, well, mottos that I've heard in the past is the younger the better. So use your imagination on that one. A child can be bought and sold, and I'm going to use the correct terms. I'm not here to sugarcoat things. Bought and sold 10 times a day, 365 days a year for up to 10 years. That's 36,500 transactions that have taken place in that 10-year time period. You have people that will go to these parties to pay to have sex with these sex slaves. That's what they are, sex slaves at this point. And at these parties, they usually have physicians there that when skin gets split or injuries occur, that they can receive medical care, be sewn right back up, and on to the next buyer. These children, when they are captured, are done in very, very elaborate ways, sometimes through fake talent show interviews, all the way to a child walking down the street and a vehicle pulls up to him, snatch and grab him. Just like with our southern border right now, we've had close to 100,000 since 2001, close to 100,000 unaccompanied minors crossing the border. And usually about 85 to 90% of those, once they cross into the United States, they disappear. They can end up back where they came from. They can end up in China, Russia, France, Germany. Take your pick. These children are not transported in the normal sense of the means. There are companies involved that will put them in these big 50-foot long shipping containers, the same ones that you would see on a boat at sea, and on that boat, in some of those containers, are children being shipped off to wherever it is they're going to. And I asked the question about this, well, why not set up blockages at these ports of entry to where every container is x-rayed, opened up, and searched? And there apparently is paperwork involved that there are some containers that you simply just cannot get into. Other times you'll have these port of entry officials that are paid off to do this. As far as I'm concerned, anyone who is involved in sex trafficking of children is nothing but pure evil. Evil up to its core. And for those of you who are not aware of this, it's not just men that are involved in running these slave sex rings. It's also women. And the reason you don't see more people busted on this is because there are people that are so wealthy and powerful and famous that are involved in doing this, all the way up to the top ends of government. So if you can think of a name, chances are they've got some kind of involvement with it. For something that those of you who may not be aware, when you get on your little chat boards and you see a little emoji icon pop up of a pizza or a cheese pizza, that's somebody placing an order for child pornography. Think about it. Cheese pizza, CP, child pornography. So if you've ever seen that, someone's placing an order for it somewhere, especially on the dark web. I myself, when I was in the military, I was a staff sergeant, and I got a phone call one day that one of my other sergeants had been picked up by the CID. And I'm like, oh great, well now what? So I get back in the office and I was told, yeah, CID came and snatched him up. Come to find out, he had child pornography on his computer. Now, if that was his personal computer or his work computer, I'm not entirely sure. Up until he was gone out of the service, I made it very clear, and I was supported by the command that he was not to touch another piece of computer of any kind as long as he was still there. He essentially went to doing yard work and stuff like that, doing paperwork. But this isn't like it was in the back in the day, like how a bunch of us grew up, where when the street lights came on, it was time to beat feet and get home. No, it is far too dangerous for any parent to let their kids uh, walk around outside unattended, even walking to the bus stop for school. Kids getting off the bus stop at a school can get snatched up right there too. There is nowhere that is a safe place for kids anymore. The other thing that I'm going to talk about, and I'm not going to mince words here, is the abortion industry. Billions, hundreds of millions, perhaps billions of dollars go into this. But I'm going to start off with a history lesson here. Back in the ancient times, there was a pagan demon that was worshipped called Moloch. And parents would bring their children to this idol statue that was created. Usually it was the head of a bull sitting down, and there was a fire pit right below it. As a matter of fact, there is a Moloch deity statue that is in the Bohemian Grove over in California. It's a men's only retreat, and there have been known to be ceremonial sacrifices taking place and some video recordings taking place, and some people think that they can actually hear like kids screaming, but there's all these additional sounds that are created to cover it up. But what would happen at these sacrifices is the parents would hand their children over to the priest. The priest would slit the child's throat and then toss the kid into the fire. Sometimes in certain circumstances that the child that was being sacrificed would be thrown into the fire alive. And they would have things like musical instruments on hand to try and drown out the screaming of the pain. But let's not fool ourselves. Moloch is still receiving his child sacrifices today. See, the priestly robes and all the religious garb has been replaced by medical scrubs. The sacrificial altar has been replaced by a clinic and a table that the parent would sit on with a pair of stirrups. And then, just like it was back when these sacrifices were taking place thousands of years ago, the remains are incinerated, they're burned, they're destroyed. First, they garner whatever genetic material they need from the remains, and then what's left over is incinerated and destroyed. See, when a mother crosses those doors, she still has a choice to turn around and leave, to say no, and still continue to be a mother, and to enjoy what all of these parents and families have right now. But if she doesn't, and she stays for that appointment and comes back out those doors, she's no longer a mother, she's a murderer. And anybody who has supported her to go through with this procedure, be it a husband, a boyfriend, parents, friends, staff, you name it, they're all complicit and murderers as well. See, it says in the Bible in the 6th commandment, you shall not murder. And in the book of Proverbs, under the 6 things that the Lord hates, hands that shed innocent blood, feet that devise wicked, a heart that devises wicked plans, and feet that run rapidly to evil. Yahweh, our Creator, always creates life. Everything you see around you, He created. The wildlife, the fish, the trees, the grass. You sitting there watching this video, He created you. When you had that sperm that came into contact with that egg, it started life. These doctors and these physicians say, oh, it's just a clump of cells, or people that will say that is pure ignorance. They're completely ignorant and stupid and have absolutely no idea what they're talking about. None. They're trying to put a face on this so that they don't have to feel so guilty about it. I keep hearing the phrase come out of people's mouths, my body, my choice. Yeah, before you got pregnant, it was your body and it was your choice. Don't forget, it takes 2 people to get a woman pregnant, the woman and the man. But the woman ultimately has the say in whether or not she's going to have sex and get pregnant. So whoever sees this, don't even think about twisting around and say, well, the guy has responsibility too. That's true in a lot of cases, but you are the one that becomes pregnant. You have the womb. The guy doesn't. The guy can't get pregnant. These are decisions that are not made with a sound mind. This usually happens when somebody goes out and they get too drunk and they want to go home and they want to have sex with each other. And whoops, someone's pregnant. Well, I'm not ready to be a mother. Maybe you should have considered that fact before you went out drinking and had sex outside of marriage. Having sex is not something to be taken lightly. It is a very serious act. Because guess what? There's a child that becomes part of the equation at some point down the road 9 months later. So, and you have all these other people out here who want to say, you know, you need to stop demonizing these clinics for doing what they're doing. What these clinics are doing is pure evil. They are committing murder. Everyone that is inside those doors, from the mother that goes in with her child and has the procedure done, just like all the medical staff in there. Everyone is guilty of committing murder. The clinics alone have it to a greater degree. They're just committing mass genocide at this point. But anyone who sees this, if you want to still go with the same thought process, that it's okay, it's your body, your choice, you can believe whatever you want to, but I can promise you one thing. There's going to come a time where you will have to give an account for the actions you've done in your life. And for those of you out there, if you have not given your life over to Yahuah, confessed your sins, asked for forgiveness, and repented of this, there will be no second chances when you're kneeling in front of that throne. And if you don't think you won't be kneeling, guess again. If anything, if you still don't want the kid, go full term and then give the kid up for adoption. But don't go through with this abortion. It is pure evil. You're committing murder when you do this. I don't care what anyone else says. You're committing murder. I don't know, maybe give some of y'all something to think about. You'll probably sit here and think, oh, who does this guy think he is to talk to us about a woman's problems? Well, I'm fully qualified to talk about this issue because I am a man of faith and I do believe in the sanctity of life. So that's where my qualifications comes into play here. So with that, I hope everybody's having a blessed day. Shalom.